It's been a while coming. The 22nd day of June 2015. The big story this morning. My name is Simon Kasiate. And yes, you can guess the topic. We're discussing Mbabazi. It won't stop, perhaps in the next 1 month. And we had someone just whispered to me that in the next 1 month it will possibly be a no-brainer and won't even capture the imagination of headliners. That I strongly doubt. But let's ride the wave as it's still very high. This morning I have with me a presidential aide who is also one of those that have vehemently opposed the system, only to realize that they were running in reverse gear. And they say if you can't beat them, join them. So he's here to tell us whether what Mbabazi is doing works or doesn't work. Of course, and I was telling him he doesn't have an idea, not even an iota of what works against the government, because at no time during his days as an opposition politician did any of his strategies work. That's why perhaps he eventually ended up joining the NRM. Henry Mayiga, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I can see you are more yellow than yellow bananas, but well, what do you make of the Mbabazi announcement to start? Let's start from there. That seems to be the basic question.
I think, Simon, these matters are very interesting because, of course, we are moving towards elections, so there should be this level of excitement. But right from the outset, I just want to say that I think Mbabazi has every right to contest for any position of responsibility in the country. There's no doubt about it. The laws of the country say so.
How he does it is where you have a problem.
Now, not only me, because the Constitution, because even in heaven, you remember when God and Satan were together at one point in time.
I have never
and
been
once
there.
Satan actually violated the Constitution in heaven, it became a problem. And
talking about the problem, let's take a short one. When we return, we shall be expounding more on that problem. Wouldn't have your principal saved himself all this if he possibly doesn't seem to be perceived to cling on to this whole idea of being president ad infinitum, and possibly go through what we in corporate governance go through, effective grooming of succession?
Because grooming, yes, is very important, and I think President Yoweri Museveni is already doing that. But probably what we don't know, and what you and I don't know, is the timing or the time scale.
Why should President Museveni keep himself with the divine mystery of keeping us waiting? I mean, we're waiting for so many things. Jesus coming is already enough for us to wait for.
President Yoweri Museveni has been very, very good leader for our country, because we have to look where we came from. A lot of instability and all these kinds of things. And I don't want to belabor those, because we have talked about them for a very long time. But he has stabilized the country.
In my heydays as a young budding journalist, full of energy, and I remember those press conferences I used to address in Uganda House.
Absolutely. But of course, there was a lot of pretense during those days. But the fact of the matter is, President Yoweri Museveni has done wonderfully for this country.
Pretending you?
Well, I mean, we used to pretend, we used to say that the country is not doing well and all those kinds of things, and whenever there was insecurity, for instance, in northern Uganda, would get excited about it, and would, in fact, if it were possible, fund it so that it continues. But when you go on growing, you begin to see things differently. And you begin to ask a question that, look, this kind of instability in northern Uganda, if it goes on, definitely sucks national revenues, and for me it was a turning point. So I had to leave the opposition and join the NRM because of the good leadership of President Yoweri Museveni.
So turn to Paul. Let's preach the gospel.
Of course. You remember we began by talking about God and Satan. So Mbabazi has every right, but you see how he does it, because the NRM has got a constitution. That's what I was coming to when I brought the example from heaven. There is a constitution of the NRM. It spells out how somebody should contest for any position, whether it is president, whether it is member of parliament, whether it is LC5 and all kinds of things.
Mbabazi has only declared interest to
contest. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And that's what I was coming to, because you see that expression of interest in contesting for a position of responsibility in the NRM is also spelled out, because that expression has to be made to the Electoral Commission, and the Electoral Commission. Absolutely.
This little. I'm sorry, I may sound irritated. The huge honorable Minister of State,
even the President here himself,
children and youth affairs, the good honorable Evelyn Anite.
Yes.
I don't think I picked this up in my dream, but I know she's contesting for a Koboko seat.
Yes.
She told the Electoral Commission.
She's going to express to the Electoral Commission.
No, how come I already know? Am I the Electoral Commission?
Absolutely.
No, how come I already know?
And you remember when they went to the subsequent meetings of the caucus of the NRM?
How come I already
know? It was actually put out very emphatically that whoever, the campaigns have not started. You remember that? That was what
somehow Anita shows up in
the Electoral Commission of the NRM,
yes.
and the Tanga is working on that as chairman of the Electoral Commission.
Goes to a mystic hill to pray and all that, yes.
Yeah.
He's causing Mbabazi sleepless nights.
When some of these things are happening in the political processes in the country, there are things
and that
you
can't
okay. Like prayer.
Yes.
Prayer is okay. There's no absolutely. If somebody goes to the stones and hills, and so on and so forth, that's okay. But Mbabazi is not going to the hills. He's not going to the hills.
All he did is just
he's issuing campaign posters and all these kinds of things.
Even in mainstream media, YouTube, man declares on YouTube.
Absolutely.
He hasn't even given an interview to
I was surprised because what I should have expected from somebody who is serious, if he wants to be president of the Republic of Uganda, is to call a press conference and you people go and interview him. He actually reads out his statement.
Tell me something.
But to put the thing on YouTube, my mother in the village, I don't know whether she's connected to the YouTube thing.
I am not so sure that your mother now doesn't know at Mbabazi is standing.
I'm going there actually from here. I'm going to the village.
You go and see her.
I'm going to see her.
You'll be surprised at how much she knows.
I don't think so.
You'll be surprised, Henry. And I also tell you something. It's also the era where once you stop doing what is expected and you do the unexpected, perhaps maybe that's what will make a difference between him now opposing the government as well when you were opposing the government.
But you are doing
the usual.
Simon, I said right from the outset of our conversation, Mbabazi has a right to contest for any position of responsibility in the country. But how do we do these things? How do we do them? You're not going to jump all over the place thinking that people are going to appreciate you as a result of you flouting the rules of the game. It's just like football. Football, you have linesmen, you have referee and all these kinds of things, and
Henry, you see,
they regulate that process. They regulate that process. So the NRM also has regulations.
I'm failing to understand how you, Henry Mayiga, is reminding Mama Mbabazi on what is and what isn't supposed to be done.
There's a Uganda proverb which talks about a younger person who also drums and the older person dances. You know, you've heard about it? I'm sure you have it in your Michigan.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have that kind of proverb.
Ours a bit twisted. They say a young guy who has washed his hands will eventually dine with kings.
There you go. There you go. So I can still advise Mbabazi. Because in any case, I have not been I'm not a stranger in politics. I've been there. Not in the government though. I've been in the opposition, yes, but I have been observing and actually taking...
What are some of his follies? Okay, I start away from the legalese of saying he has flouted rules, which you never even quote for me. What rule he has broken or what constitution he has broken. Yes, and it's the NRM constitution. I'm not so sure whether there are any quotable caps that you can put. But away from that, what is he doing that is a faux pas? Something that should not be done.
What should
that should actually earn him the lowest of votes.
Expression of interest has to be made to the Electoral Commission, and it is there. And the Electoral Commission has come out with a roadmap, which is when people should actually have those declarations or expression of interest in any position of responsibility.
How come you never told the same to guys?
That is Tanga. He knows. He has been Secretary General. He knows, and he's a lawyer. He knows the law.
So this is a guy who is adamantly flouting the law.
Well, I don't know.
No, I mean, maybe.
You see,
you guys should not.
We have democracy. We have democracy.
No, democracy should not mean people should break their law wantonly and just go away and touch. Why can't you, as the NRM, move swiftly and quickly and save this country of the menace of Amama Mbabazi, who is flouting the law as he's aware of it?
What we need to know is that Mbabazi is just a mere spoke in the wheel of a bicycle. He's just one person. And therefore, when these regulations and constitutions and all these rules of the game are made, they're made forever, but not for an individual, not even President Yoweri Museveni.
So what is President
Museveni? The rules are forever, but that's why President Yoweri Museveni has not come out. Even when he was tickled, you remember in Chankwazi resolution, which Mbabazi signed, President Yoweri Museveni never responded that, yes, I'm coming.
Let's go back this
he hasn't. So if the law can apply to President Yoweri Museveni, who is this other spoke called Henry Mayiga?
Mbabazi. Now, in this economies of scale, in this wheel and spokes and all that, Museveni is what? A full wheel.
He's also a spoke, in my view. He's a spoke. But
I think the spokes are also different in size.
Maybe this size is now bigger. And that's why people go to Chankwas and they say, by resolution, which Mbabazi himself actually is a procrastinator. Because he signed that resolution. If he was a man of strength, at that point in time when they went to Chankwas, probably shouldn't have appended his signature. Because now the public in this country are saying that this man is a procrastinator, a flip-flopper. You append your signature.
Right over there. Henry, let's learn to know and respect the word moral authority. You, Henry Mayiga, should be the last person talking about flip-flops here.
I don't know, I should be even the first one.
Why?
Because it is very simple. When I saw that things were not moving that side, and of course you know what's happening in the UPC where you came from. I'm sure that's what you're talking about. You know what's happening there. Can you imagine that by now I should have been there with that kind of mayhem they have, the confusion they have, the chaos they have.
I thought men of valor like you stay in
from
their
mother
from
father to son to mother with a very little intermittent or interjection by Olarotuno. You wanted me to be part of those kinds of things.
I thought that's why you should be there, in fact, to
sort
out the malaise. I thought people like you were political doctors to sort out political malaise.
You don't know.
And that's why Mbabazi is coming up. Listen,
we reached a point in the UPC when people said UPC Megwa. I don't know whether there is anybody who knows this full word, but Megwa means ours. And that's what we were being told. So
I'm sure where you are, you've heard of sentences like for us.
Which I also say for us.
Have you heard my accent? For us.
No.
But away from that, anyway, that's moving away from the gist of our discussion. I did ask you earlier on, you've skirted around this issue and you're hiding behind the legalism. Just asking from a person who's opposed government before, you think what Mbabazi is doing will work or won't work? And so what is it that is doing?
Mbabazi, in my view, first of all, he has occupied very many positions in the NRM. You remember, first Director General of ESO, Security Minister, Attorney General, Defense Minister, Prime Minister, Secretary General of the Party, and all these kinds of things. And he's a lawyer above all. Attorney General. And all this. In fact, at one time, you remember, he was referred to as Prime Minister. And he should have been the person who should have known these things, how they're supposed to work out, that this is how we move as a group. Yeah, you restrain yourself a little, and then you achieve your objective, the bigger objective. And of course, in these matters of political parties, the bigger objective of the party is supreme, not the individual one. Yeah, and in that case, in my view, I should have expected Mbabazi to follow the law to the letter of the NRM and all those kinds of things. But in fact, you remember the registration exercise of the NRM of membership. He made a comment about it and said that is a mere formality. And I'm told up to now, unless he did it yesterday or the other day, he hadn't registered as a member. And he was saying that that is a simple formality and he can't make somebody excluded from the membership of a party. All parties have belonged to, and have belonged to only two. Now Mbabazi has belonged to more than two. UPC, UPM, NRM. They have belonged to only two.
Well, the other one is the fact. So he's a bigger flip-flopper than yourself. And getting down to the reaction machinery of the NRM. Some people say you have now gone into what we call overdrive panic mode.
I don't believe that because you see, you must have discipline. I'm sure even in your family you must be. Children, you tell them that if nobody comes after I've closed the door, they have to be at home before yourself. You enter at 6, they must come by 5:30. There are rules of the game,
of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when my daughter speaks at me for 1 minute, I'm restrained to respond her for 10 minutes. But anyway, that's me.
There you are. So even in our homes, we have these discipline matters made very clear to whoever is a member of a home. And I just want to believe that unfortunately in our country, democracy, I think, is in its infancy. And probably people are still suffering from the hangover of individual merit system, because we haven't come to appreciate absolutely how important actually collective responsibility in terms of multipartyism is concerned. People are still stuck in the past of individual merit system.
And I'm sure when you talk about people, this transcends from your chairman down to the lowest of your supporters.
No, I don't want to pinpoint the chairman, but I'm talking in general terms.
What would you say of this sentence? What would you say of this sentence? In an interview, the BBC, Mbabazi did say that President Museveni is known to take all the credit for the good things that happen, and then he will blame everybody else for the...
I know where Mbabazi is coming from because, of course, he has been Prime Minister and leader of government business. So when he wrote those things in his, I don't want even to call it a statement, but probably a missive way, he was saying that there have been a lot of government failures and all those kinds of things. So what the President was responding to, he was saying, and the system is tired, of which he was part as Prime Minister, not just an ordinary minister, but Prime Minister, and he was the leader of government business. So what is the problem? Did he, for instance, raise a proposal in order to address these proposals and they were rejected by government and all this kind of things?
I met a guy in the pub and he told me that President Museveni is right to say Mbabazi should take responsibility of all the things. He was a prime minister and all that. But why can't President Museveni also, since he's a very good leader, let him for a moment swap and become Prime Minister, and we see whether he will be able to do anything.
You want to do it the Russian way?
Exactly.
Between Medvedev
and Putin.
And Putin.
Perhaps that could save his face. I mean,
no. You know, we are still, I think, as I said, an infant democracy, and you are not going to turn us into a laboratory where we become guinea pigs.
No, guinea pig has been Russia.
In Russia, the systems have established themselves for a very long time. I want to believe because of what they went through, revolution, Bolshevik revolution, and so on and so on. I don't want to believe that we're at the same level in terms of these political processes as Russia. So the Russians can, yes, interchange between Prime Minister and President, but I don't think we can experiment those kinds of things.
What's your worry?
Here there must be continuity.
What's your worry?
My worry is instability. I don't want the country to go back to instability. We must be as stable as possible.
In the unlikely event that Mbabazi wins the presidency or the chairmanship of the NRM,
that will be as a result of democracy.
That will be as a result of democracy, and you would welcome that.
Of course, democracy, as a Democrat, and I know these collective responsibility things in terms of belonging to a political party. If he comes and the party votes him, and then eventually the country votes him as president, that will be, I think, a result of democracy.
As we conclude this one, what do you think are Mbabazi's biggest hurdles in there? Or, let me put it this way, what are the big risks that Mbabazi's candidature brings to the fold of NRM?
Personally, I don't see big risks, because as of now, you remember, he was removed from Prime Minister and Secretary General last year. I have not seen any big fallout. I have not seen any big fallout in the party and all those kinds of things. I haven't seen that. But of course, in your first question, it appeared as if you're talking about the kinds of problems that Mbabazi is facing, or those areas that he will have to explain to the public in order for him to be voted. That is, if he's nominated as a presidential candidate. One of them is, I've already said, flip-flopping, procrastination. I don't think that augurs well for somebody.
Which you can say it is a process of thought and meticulous
consideration. I've seen some people say that for me, when they are reading, for instance, the budget that they are thinking, that's why they are closing their eyes. If that he chooses to take that path, we can't restrain him. That will be his choice.
A very final one, Henry. Do you imagine a situation where the reaction to Mbabazi's candidature will get worse than it already has become? The arrest of his purported supporters, the confiscation of his visibility material and things like that. Doesn't that speak largely into a cycle of anxiety, a cycle of panic that could get worse as he possibly gains more momentum on the ground? Or will you in the NRM not even allow him to go that far?
I think, Simon, let me be very clear about these matters. It is very simple. For as long as somebody breaks the law, of course the policemen will have to step in and do whatever they're supposed to do, because they're supposed to keep law and order. If somebody, for instance, begins to distribute campaign materials for president at a time which is not designated by the National Electoral Commission, there is a problem.
I have seen I met a minister on Friday. She was wearing the President Museveni watch, declaring presidency for this year. I have seen my friend Sarah Kajinko post that watch on social media. I've seen many people wearing that. Isn't that campaign material?
No, but
why is that okay for President Museveni to have his paraphernalia out there?
The fountain of honor.
Got billboards on.
Unfortunately, those are things which are even being discussed in the US up to now. The benefits of incumbency. Let's talk about benefits, and then we do a law. We change the law, something like that, because those are things that continue. Benefits, so they are there. In the US, they're still talking about it, you know. When Obama was campaigning.
Right over there. Henry, as we clamor to do better, we shouldn't benchmark over Russia, because we've not gone through the teething problems of the Russian revolutions and all that. But somehow when it is favoring you, we want to benchmark over the United States of America, forgetting that they too have had
because we're aspiring to get there.
Why don't you think that Russia is also a nice place to aspire to get to, especially if you are down at the ramp? Like your president normally says, those who come from hell should be appreciative of the slightest ray of sunlight. So even Russia in its shambled way should be offering some kind of insight.
So that we change Prime Minister and the President, that laboratory is not going to happen.
But how come you always look at it selectively that when it favors you, America is there?
No,
but anyway, back to the issue as we conclude on this one here. So it is okay for President Museveni's billboards to go up, for President Museveni's campaign material to go up. But if Kasiyate intends to contest Sejisa for that matter, don't look at this jacket. It's not part of his campaign material. I know he wears this jacket quite more often than myself. So that isn't the way it should be.
No, but you see, I've mentioned, I think, two things. One of them is that he's founded on Bona. The other one, benefits of incumbency. You remember the US?
He couldn't have concluded it better here.
Limousine, a whole fleet of them trying to campaign. I mean, Obama, when he was coming second time, they began talking about it. Why this man and blah, blah, blah. But where do you want him to travel?
He's the president.
He's the president.
He couldn't have concluded it better here, Mr. Henry Mayiga, who is the presidential assistant advisor. Remind me.
Well, advisor now, ambassador.
Who?
Designate.
Yeah. Any position yet to be announced to you?
No station yet.
Yeah. Well, we have him here discussing the Mbabazi incumbency, and yes, hoping that perhaps indeed what he says here will come to pass, because he's had the benefit of opposing this government and he knows exactly what doesn't work.
Mbabazi has gone where he came from.
So, so he glossed in saying Mbabazi has now gone back where he came from. Let's take a short when we return, as Simon says, as we conclude this program. Yes, the debate is going to continue. The discussions will even get more intense. Even the postulations, the assumptions, the guesswork, it can only get better or even worse depending on which way you look at it as we go closer to that February day in 2016. Are you ready to keep up pace with us at NTV as we continue giving you all these viewpoints? Well, you better be, because it's only here that the discussions will be taking front and forward mileage. But as that be the case, we are having a fresh start to a fresh week. The political tempo is up, but mark you, politics does not put bread on your table. Ever thought and stop to think about that? Maybe it does for you, but for me, politics perhaps doesn't. Or maybe it does. When I have these discussions politically, I get paid at the end of the month. Whichever way you look at it, if you benefit from politics, give it a good start, a fresh start, the whole new week. If you do something else that's not political, and that the engagement in politics is going to hamper you from doing what is generally regarded as productive, woe unto you if you go that direction. Please be productive, and let's start our week productively, because the collective sum of your productivity, my productivity, and everybody's productivity is what will move this country forward. Not so much about the political bickerings left, right, and center. Good morning.